Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or good day. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar session. My name is Ibukun Fashino, and I will be your host for today, alongside Emmanuel, who will be our speaker. All right. So today we are speaking on effective cloud platform operations for cost management, and we are actually doing this because we have a solution in Secure Intelligence Limited called Cloud Platform Operations, that allows us with 24/7 monitoring and every other service that you might need to ensure your scalability and also effectiveness in the cloud. Right. So my name is Ibuko once again, and I'm a sales development representative here at Secure Intelligence Limited. Right. So moving on, I would like to tell you about some basic housekeeping rules that we have. The first is to know that this session is being recorded and uploaded on all our social media channels, right? Especially on YouTube, you can catch the recording. You can get it on YouTube later, right? And secondly is, as Emmanuel is presenting, that's our cloud engineer, you can make reactions. You're going to see an emoji icon on your screen to actually do that. And lastly, if you have questions, comments, or contributions, right, as Emmanuel is speaking, right, there is a question mark icon on the screen to do that so that we can move together, right? So moving on, let me quickly introduce to us about Secure Intelligence Limited. We are solution builders, right? We apply technology to drive effectiveness. We are also AWS partners, and amongst other partnerships. Okay, and what we do is we help enterprises scale globally, right? And in Secure Intelligence, we have like three arms of the business. That's SEAL Teams, SEAL Academy, and SEAL Support. In SEAL Teams, what we do is we help you build digital products. We help with everything that concerns maintaining and managing your infrastructure in the cloud. And for SEAL Academy, that's where we train technical competencies across Africa. We have our Zero to Techie program. We have instructor-led trainings and some other trainings that you might take advantage of, right? And then lastly, SEAL Support. What we do is we help with monitoring. We help with cloud platform operations. We help pay for your cloud services in Naira. A range of different solutions that cuts across SEAL Support services. So these are the three arms of the business, and I know that as time goes on, right, you might get to understand this better. So moving on to the agenda of today's session, we are speaking on effective cloud platform operations for cost management. And like I said earlier, we are doing this so that you understand not just how to cut costs, but how to get the best results from every amount that you get to spend on your cloud platform. Okay, so first thing Emmanuel is going to be sharing with us is what is cloud platform operations. He's going to be explaining and delving into every information that you need to know about cloud platform operations as a service and also as a solution to your business. Secondly is importance of cloud platform operations in modern cloud infrastructure. He's also going to be touching effective cloud platform operations for cost management, which is the most important part of this session. And Emmanuel is also going to be showing us, a short demo, and then we are going to conclude with questions and comments and also contributions from you, right? At some point in the webinar, I might have to hand over to a colleague, but yes, Emmanuel, I hope you're ready for us.
Yes, I am. Good afternoon.
Right. Yes, thank you so much, and I really hope we get to learn from you. You have the floor. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Like Ibukun has said, my name is Emmanuel, and I am a cloud engineer here at Secure Intelligence. Today, we are going to be looking at effective cloud platform operations for cost management. Please, next slide. So what is cloud platform operations, right? It's a set of practices and tools designed to manage, support, and optimize cloud infrastructure, ensuring seamless operations, security, and cost effectiveness in cloud environments. It encompasses aspects such as monitoring, automation, security management and cost optimization, right? CPO, like the same as cloud platform operations, is just a set of best practices that organizations that desire to move into the cloud, that desire to migrate into the cloud, that are in the cloud, as a matter of fact, should adopt in order to get the best, in order to get the most out of whatever cloud service provider you're using, be it AWS, GCP, or Azure. In this case, we're going to be making use of AWS as a case study. Next slide, please. So we want to look at the importance of CPO in modern cloud infrastructure. So the first is that as businesses, as organizations increasingly rely on cloud services, right, efficient management becomes critical for business continuity, right? It is not just enough to say that you want to come into the cloud. It's not just enough to say that you want to move your workloads into the cloud, right? As wonderful as that is, as brilliant as that is, you need to know and adopt the best practices that have been laid down by different cloud service providers in order to get the most out of it, right? And we are going to be looking at the best practices as we proceed in the presentation. The second is that it helps to maintain operational continuity by reducing downtime and enhancing system reliability, right? This point seeks to tell us that we need to architect our solutions in such a way that they are not likely to fail, right? They are not likely to be down in case of the failure of an availability zone coming from the cloud vendor now, right? So we must architect our solutions in such a way that ensures that they are very, very secure and they do not go down easily, right? In case of a failure, both from the cloud service provider and sometimes even from an internal failure, right? So you want to adopt strategies like high availability, multi-AZ, deploy your applications in multi-availability zones or even multi-regions, right? The third is that it enhances security by implementing continuous monitoring and automated threat detection, right? Security is like a really, really important aspect of the cloud, right? It is something that many people, if not everybody itself, should be really, really interested in, because you want to run your applications, you want to run your workloads in an environment that is highly secure, right? That is not prone to malicious attacks, that is not prone to bad actors, right? You want to ensure that your applications are really secure. Sorry, a second. I can't see your screen if you are presenting. Emeka, please, can you hear me?
Can hear you, Emmanuel.
All right.
Okay, I think his screen went off. Let me see if I can share from my end. That should be network.
It looks like he's sharing.
I'm the one doing that. Sorry.
All right.
I'm so sorry for this breakup. You can continue.
I'm yet to see your screen.
Right?
Yeah, it's still coming on. All right. Thank you so much. So yes, so everybody that wants to come into the cloud should be very interested about security, because they can help to save you a whole lot of unnecessary troubles, right? So with CPO, you can, once you adopt CPO, right, you should also adopt, it means you're adopting practices like continuous monitoring and automated threat detection. And finally, it optimizes costs by identifying and eliminating wasteful expenditure and ensuring that resources are used efficiently. Right? This is something that is very big on the cloud. Anytime you want to come into the cloud, it's something that every cloud service provider always encourage. Any resource you are not using or you used and you are done with it, make sure you delete it so that you don't unnecessary cost for it. Right? It's not news that if you want to make use of the cloud, right, it's not free, right? There are costs associated with moving into the cloud, right? So any resource you are not using, maybe your sandbox resources that you are not using, after any demo, anything that you did that you do not, you don't need it again. You should just delete it in order to save on costs. So now this is the meat of our discussion for today, right? Effective cloud platform operations for cost management, right? We are going to be talking on different points. The first is automation. Automation has different pointers under it. We have infrastructure as code, automation of deployment, and automating maintenance, right? So now, the point of infrastructure as code, right? Infrastructure as code is particularly important because it helps to ensure consistency, repeatability, and reduced manual errors, right? So let me just take a step back and explain what infrastructure as code or IAC is. So when you start learning about cloud service providers, the first way you are introduced to use the cloud service provider is to make use of the console, right? For example, you go to the AWS console and then you say you want to launch an EC2 instance, you do it by clicking. This is known as manual deployment or click ops, some people would call it. But that is not the only way we have to actually create resources or deploy resources on cloud service providers, right? You can use another way known as infrastructure as code, whereby you just write code and then you deploy that code, and the code is responsible for creating your resources for you in any cloud service provider of your choice, right? In the case of AWS, a tool you can use is AWS CloudFormation. Now, AWS CloudFormation is just limited to AWS. It does not work outside of AWS. And then you also have Terraform. Terraform is cloud agnostic in the sense that it works for multi-cloud, right? It's not just limited to AWS or GCP. It works for multi-cloud, AWS, GCP, Azure, and more cloud service providers, as a matter of fact. So how can infrastructure as code help us to save on cost? One way is that with infrastructure as code, you have an idea, you know, at every given time, the number of resources you have, you know, the current state of your infrastructure. You are not guessing what is the state of your infrastructure. You know how many instances you have deployed, you know how many databases you have deployed and all of that. But if you do these things manually, you are not sure as to how many resources you have deployed because there's no system to track it. With infrastructure as code, IAC, everything is defined in code, right? So a personal example I like to share is one time I was working on a project on AWS and I created some resources, right? After the demo, I did this via the console, that is manually now. So after the demo, after I had finished playing with the resources, I deleted them, or I thought so. It was at the end of the month that I got a surprise bill from AWS that this is what you're supposed to pay us. And I was so surprised. I'm like, what did I do that you are charging me this money? I now went to the console and investigated and actually saw that. In fact, you even see when you get the email from them, you see what they are charging you for. Right? Then I saw that it was a NAT gateway that I provisioned that I forgot to delete. I thought I deleted them, the resources, or I forgot. Right? Now, if I had done this via code, I just need to key in one command. If I had done it via Terraform, for example, I would just key in one command and everything goes. Or if it's CloudFormation, I just need to delete the stack I created, right? But because I did this via console, I forgot, and as a result of that, it cost me, right? It cost me some money, right? So with infrastructure as code, you know at every given point the state of your infrastructure. That is why it is really, really important as something that you should always adopt in your businesses, in your startups, etc. Right. The second point under automation is automation of deployment. Now, this has to do with the use of CI/CD pipelines in order to, deploy code and the rest. You can also use the services we use for this is code pipeline. You can use it in tandem with code deploy, and for testing you can integrate code build. This helps to ensure that there's reduced manual errors. You are not triggering the wrong pipelines, and it helps you to go to market faster since everything is automated, basically, leading to improved revenue. So the last point we have here under automation is automating maintenance, right? So schedule regular backups with AWS backup. So if your workloads they are making use of EC2 instances, you want to make sure that you back up those instances, because in the event that they fail and there's no backup, it will cost you a whole lot as a business. Right? It's just like having a phone, right? And God forbid, maybe the phone gets spoiled, and the last time you backed up the images, the files, the pictures, the songs on your phone was last 6 months. By the time you are getting a new phone and you are logging in back to your email, for example, you are going to get all the data in your previous phone up to last 6 months. So you would lose 6 months of data, right? Simply because you did not back up your data. You did not back them up regularly. You backed it up, but not regularly. That is why on the cloud, we always encourage for customers to back up their servers, their data regularly, right? If you have backed it up maybe every week you back up your data, that means you're just losing one week of data, right? If you do it every day, you just lose 1 day of data, right? So the more you carry out backups on your instances or your databases, the less data you are going to lose, which also implies the less money you're going to lose, right? So this is something that we have seen with the customer that we manage, right? Something happened to their instance, they had to terminate it, but luckily enough for us, we actually had AWS backup enabled. And the backup is done every 8 hours, right? We're able to roll back to a new we're able to create a new instance, right, using a backup that was done 8 hours ago, right? So we see that there was very, very little amount of data that was lost in such process. So you want to make sure that you back up your instances as regularly as possible. So the second point we have under automating maintenance is to automate part management using systems manager, right? So patching falls under both automation and also security. Automation, because you do not want to do this stuff manually, right? You want to make sure that you automate everything as much as you can in order to ensure that there's reduced human error, right? So with patches, you basically harden your security. You harden your security. With patches, you ensure that you are using the latest software, which are more secure, right, in terms of security and all of that. So the second point we have under effective cloud platform operations for cost management is monitoring and alerts. So monitoring is really, really important because it gives you an idea as to what is happening in your account, right? You always want to know what is happening in your account. You don't want to guess what is happening in your account. This is not something that you want to do once every 2 weeks or once every month or anytime you feel like. You want to do it as frequently as possible, if possible every day, right? So going back to the example I spoke of and why I forgot to delete the NAT gateway and I was charged for it. At the demo, I was still checking my account. I would have been able to flag that issue and I would have deleted the NAT gateway, right? And I would not be charged for the much I was, right? So in that way, I would have reduced my cost, right? So monitoring is something that is really, really important. With AWS, you can use that. You can monitor your account using CloudWatch, and you can also use CloudTrade for API activity logging. So what CloudTrade does is that anything that happens in your account, you have first hand, you can see who did that, right? If somebody attempts to delete something, you can see who tried to do that via CloudTrail. You can also set up automated alerts for resource usage and anomalies. In AWS, there's something called cost anomaly detector, right? That helps to detect anomalies, right? So basically what it's saying is that if, for example, over a period of 6 months, the amount of money you have been spending on an AWS account is $50, right? And for whatever reason, that amount spiked up to $100 or $150, you'll be alerted that, okay, something is happening here. This is going against what we are used to, and the norm of $50 per month. Right? And this is something you want to set up in your account. So under security best practices that we can adopt is that we want to make sure that we apply the principle of least privilege using IAM, which is identity and access management, right? So IAM is something that, the principle of least privilege is something that is really, really always advised by not just AWS, but by other cloud service providers, right? If what it means is that you should not give people more permissions than they need. So if the engineers or developers working in your company just need access to 3 AWS services or 4 AWS services, let's say CloudFormation, Route 53, CloudFront, and maybe RDS, just give them access to those 4 AWS services alone and do not give them access to more, right? Because they can actually compromise on your security and your cost even, because they can go and provision resources they are not supposed to provision, and it will cost you a whole lot. And it's not something you want really. So the second part is that you want to encrypt your data at rest and in transit. This is like another layer of security that you want to enforce, right, in order to ensure that your applications are very, very secure, right? Then we also have the point of regularly updating and patching your systems. To carry out regular updates is really important, like I said, because we saw this point under automation. It falls both under automation and security, right? You want to regularly patch your systems, you want to regularly update them in order to ensure that they are up to date security-wise, right? And with AWS, there's a service that can help us to do this, which is Systems Manager. Finally, under security, you want to implement guard duty for threat detection. This is like a way for you to detect threats that could be facing your account or your infrastructure on the AWS cloud. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we're going to look at cost management, right? Because on AWS, we have services that are tailored towards giving us insight on our costs, right? So the cost optimization tools we have, two of them we're going to be looking at in this webinar is one, Cost Explorer. With Cost Explorer, you can analyze and visualize your AWS spending, right? You see how much you have spent thus far, maybe in a month, in 2 months, depending on how far back you want to go, and then you make necessary decisions you need to. You can also set up AWS budgets. Budgets are really, really important because they help to give you an insight as to how much you are spending, right, based on the limit you have imposed. Right? Say, for example, you want to just spend $50 per month on your AWS account. You can create a budget for that, and you can also set. There's this thing with budgets where you say that if I have spent 40% or let's say 70% of the 50%, right? If I've spent it, I want to be notified, right? So once you have gone past the 70% of $50, right, AWS quickly sends you an alert notifying you of that, and then you can make informed decisions based on that alert. Right? This is something you might not be aware of if you have not set up alert. This is something really, really important. In fact, if you are working in the cloud newly, they always advise that you set up budgets, right? So that in case you spin up a service, you might not know that it costs much, but when you set up budgets and you put restrictions, like I said, maybe once you reach 70% of this particular X amount of money. I want to be notified. Once that notification comes in, you know that you're actually spending money when you thought you were not spending anything, and you can make informed decisions based on that. Maybe go and delete the service you created, or maybe go for a lesser instance. Maybe you want an EC2 instance that is very high. You can go and right size it and use a smaller instance. So in my case, going back to my example, going back to the example where I forgot to delete the NAS gateway, if I had set up a budget, right, I would have been notified and I would have made the correction I needed to make, but because I did not, I paid for it. So the cost optimization techniques we can apply is number one, right size instances. This is really, really important because some people use EC2 instances to run your workloads, right? But then they are over provisioned, right? So what over provision means is maybe, for example, you are trying to use a hammer or a gun to kill a fly, right? You just want to run a very small workload, and then the instance you are using to host that workload is very, very big, and as a result of that, you'll be paying big money, right? So you want to right size your instance to make sure that the instance you are using matches the workload. And so the question now is, how do I know the instance I'm supposed to use, right? And AWS has an answer to that. You can actually make use of a service known as Compute Optimizer. Right? With Compute Optimizer, you get recommendations as to which instance type you're supposed to use. And this is really, really good. I've used it personally, and it's something that can help you to save cost a whole lot. It gives you recommendations on the kind of instance you should use. In fact, if you're using an EBS volume, it gives you recommendation on the EBS size you should provision. Even Lambda functions, it can help you to give you recommendations on the compute size of the Lambda functions. Right? If your workloads are something that is continuously running, you might also want to look at reserved instances or savings plans because they really, really offer aggressive discounts, right, on the AWS cloud, right? Then finally, under cost optimization techniques, you want to implement life cycle policies for data storage, right? So this is related to right? The service called S3 on AWS, right? So basically, you want that services or files that are not frequently accessed. In S3, you have different storage tiers, right? You have standard, infrequent, glacier, and all of that. So standard is like the most expensive because you can retrieve your data from it very fast. But for data that are known as core data that you would not need frequently, right? You can take them to infrequent access or one zone or glacier, right? Taking them to different tiers actually reduces the cost that is accompanied with them, right? So it's something you want to look at. Then you want to okay, I've spoken on this. You want to regularly make use of AWS backup and also conduct patches using Systems Manager. Next slide, please. So, right. So, okay, this is like best practices that you should all, like an addition with extra tips, right? So, you want to regularly review, analyze your billing reports, right? So, you want to, if possible, daily look at how much you spent the previous day, and you can get a whole lot of insights from it. Maybe you did something that you did not even know that will cost you money. If you look at Cost Explorer, look at your billing, it's going to give you insight as to how much money you are spending and how you can actually, save on cost on these things, right? So the second is identify and eliminate idle resources. This is something that is really, really important. If you're not using a resource, right, it has no business being active on your account. Anytime you are done provisioning, anytime you are done playing with a resource, make sure you delete it because they can cost you a whole lot, right? So something that you should adopt as a practice in your organization, your startup, your firm. The third is to optimize cost storage using S2 intelligent theory. So S2 intelligent theory, what it means is that basically it monitors or scans the files that are in an S3 bucket, and then it puts them in different storage tiers based on how frequently accessed they are. Right. So for frequently accessed data, they are going to be put in a standard class, and those that are not frequently accessed, they would most likely be in a glacial class. So at this point, I want to state that if what I've said so far is something that you want to implement, there are things you want to implement in your organization. We're talking about security, automation, and continuous monitoring, right? If you want to apply all of these things to your firm, right, to your business, to your startup, I have good news for you, right? At Secure Intelligence, we can help you to do that, right? We have professionals that can help you to to build your workloads in the cloud. We also have services such as CPO, right, where we carry out 24/7 monitoring of your workloads. We help to ensure that your workloads are encrypted, they are highly secure, and basically we follow the best practices of AWS, right? So if this is you want us to help you with your architecture, you want us to better your application, so to say, you can reach out to our sales development rep. I'm sure by now there's a link on the chat box where you can book a call with the SDRs, and they would give you more information as to how to proceed from there. So next slide. I'm going to share my screen now just for a short demo. Just want to show us the services that I've spoken of and how we can access them. Right. Okay, so share screen. Okay. Can you see my screen? Please, can you confirm you can see my screen?
Yes, Manuel can see.
All right, thank you so much. So I'm just going to be opening the services. So Compute Optimizer, CloudWatch, let's look at Detective, Cloud Formation, Cost Explorer. All right. So the first one we are going to be looking at is Compute Optimizer. So it's called Compute Optimizer. Like I said, we have the ability to get recommendations from AWS as to the instance type to use. For example, when we're using EC2 instances, we don't have any EC2 instances running, but then we get recommendations for EBS volumes, functions, RDS, databases, ECS. And so this is really, really important because it can help you to save costs to a large extent, right? Giving you an idea as to which instance size you should use for that particular workload you are using. Because this is something that I was initially in cloud, I was confused as to how can one know the particular instance size to use for your workloads. And this with Compute Optimizer, you can get an idea. Something we actually did for a customer, and we help them to save more than $1,000. Right? It's something you want to enable, but it does not work immediately. Once you enable it, it requires a bit of time to learn about your workload, and then it gives the appropriate recommendations. I think it takes like 24 hours before it gives recommendations. So this is CloudWatch, right? You know, it's loading up. So while that is loading, see. Okay, so while that is loading, I'm just going to close up now. So with CloudWatch, you get real-time monitoring of your accounts, right? I don't know why it's slow. So basically, you get stuffs like alarms. You can set alarms with CloudWatch, right? If something is happening that should not happen, um, I want it to be an alarm. Send me an alarm. So that's what this is. This sign here means an alarm. This is okay, right? You can also view logs on CloudWatch, log groups, and all of that, and metrics also. If you are using a service like EC2, you can view your metrics like CPU utilization, network in and out, and all of that. You can view all of those metrics here, right? They are really important because they give you an idea as to how your applications is doing, right? So we have metrics for different AWS services, AppSync, API Gateway, CloudFront, Code Build, Cognito, and the rest, even EC2, right? That was my EC2. So we have metrics for many AWS services, right? You want to come here and see. So this is across all instances now. There are currently 8 instances running on this account, and we get metrics on different on different metrics really. CPU utilization, EBS read writes, and all of that, network in and out, EBS write bytes, and all of that. So they can give you really solid information as to how much data is coming to your instance, how much is going out, how the CPU utilization of your EC2 and all of that. So with Detective, this is not currently enabled for this account because it's a sandbox account, right? So with Detective, you investigate potential security issues, and it is really, really important because it helps to show you loopholes in your account in terms of security now, and gives you recommendations on how to improve the security posture of your account. This is something you want to enable, especially if you are using, especially if the workload that you are hosting on the cloud is very, very sensitive, and it's something that you need to make as secure as possible. So now this is CloudFormation. CloudFormation, this is AWS's native tool for doing infrastructure as code, right? So I'm just going to open one stack here, and then I'll show us a template. So this is a template, right? So what this is doing basically, this is what I explained earlier. So with CloudFormation, what you need to do is you just write code. This is how we write the code in CloudFormation. This is YAML actually, YAML or YML, right? So with this, you write code, and then when you launch it, it's going to create the resources that you define inside of your templates, right? So you always know at every particular point in time the number of resources you have deployed in your account, the state of your infrastructure, right? Because everything is defined in code, right? Everything is in code, and this is a best practice, right, for CPO, and this is also a best practice for DevOps, right? To show you how important it is. So the last one we're going to be looking at is the billing and cost management. Right? So this is actually a service on AWS, and from there you get a lot of information pertaining to costs, right? We get bills, payments, credits. So credits are, from AWS, you get credits. So basically, you are using the service for free. Cost Explorer and all of that, really. So we can also look at savings plans here. So with savings plans, you commit to AWS for a 1 or 3 year term, and they can offer really aggressive discounts that to help you save on costs, right? So let's look at Cost Explorer. Okay. So you can also get a graphical um, can get a graphical view on how much you're spending on your accounts, right? So you see here at once, it's immediately clear that this is the service that is costing us the most, which is it fall under others. We can actually investigate that. This one is VPC, this is EC2, and these are the other resources that attach the instance, right? We just get a whole lot of information as to how much we have spent, how much we can. We can also get recommendations. All right. So, okay, before that, this is the cost of anomaly detection I was speaking of, right? It helps to detect if there is something out of the normal in your AWS account in terms of costs, right? Say you have been spending $50 every month for the past 6 months, and then all of a sudden you get charged, $50, right? It's an anomaly, and it shows you here. So it's saying anomalies detected 18. So it gives you anomaly checks, and then you can look at it and make necessary changes. So I think that is all I have for today. So yeah, you actually have saving opportunities. So it's saying that you can save $21 per month if you do what they're advising you to do. Right, so let's just look at it before. Yeah. So cost optimization hub under billing and cost management. So it is saying that if you purchase savings plan, right, speaking this for EC2 instances now, you can save $19.1, right? If you move to Graviton, this is like a special type of EC2, right? You can save this amount, right? And this amount can get very, very big, right? It can get very, very big, as much as more than $1,000. I've seen that for a customer, right? So you want to look at these recommendations, and if possible, you want to adopt them, right? Like I said, purchase savings plan can offer really aggressive discounts. In this case, is offering the most of it, and something you want to look at. I think that's it. Like I said, if this is something you want to implement automation, security, continuous monitoring on your AWS account, and you are not sure how to go about that, we can help you as Secure Intelligence. We have professionals that are well versed in doing these things, and we can actually make it happen for you. You can reach out to our sales development reps that there's a link in the chat where you can reach out to, you can book a call with them, and they will tell you what to do concerning that. Thank you so much. I will be taking any questions now if there are any. Emeka, over to you, please.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you so much for that wonderful section. You've done so well, right? To give us background to everything around cloud platform operations, and I'm so sure that the attendees have been well informed. Please, if you have questions, you can start dropping your questions. you can start dropping the questions. So Emmanuel was able to pick us through even demo sessions, showing us the cost optimization um, strategies, right, from budgets to security and so on, right? Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you so much. Please, if you have questions, now is the time that you want to drop your question. We're going to give let's say 5 minutes um, so that we get questions. Emmanuel, did you take this conclusion, or you want to just quickly take that while the questions are dropping in?
All right. Oh, all right. So, in conclusion, right, cloud platform operations, they are really vital, and I hope I've been able to establish that fact during the course of the presentation, right, for managing security and optimizing cloud infrastructure efficiently, right? So the key strategies we looked at were automation, IAC or infrastructure as code, robust security using principles like least privilege, encryption, and enabling security tools like GuardDuty and Detective, and cost management with AWS tools. So the combination of these practices, the combination of these best practices, they help to ensure consistent operations, reduce risk, and cost savings.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I'm having a question here, right? Um, I think I'm having a question here. I'm trying to understand the question before I read it. Okay, so
Right.
uh, so the question is saying that how do this cloud platform operation, how do we this solution, right, from cloud platform operation, how do we integrate it with existing cloud management tools, right, that that your company is currently using, but the person is not specific. So how does CPO solution integrate with existing cloud management? How do we integrate it? Is there anything that uh, I don't know if you understand the question too?
Okay, so let me just rephrase the question. So
Okay.
the person is asking how to integrate CPU into their existing cloud infrastructure.
Yeah,
Is that
yes,
it?
exactly. Yes, exactly.
All right. So
I think that's what the question is.
it's not something that difficult since most of the services. So okay, we used AWS as a case study, and most of all the services we used during the hands-on or during the demo, they're AWS services, right? So they're not like third-party tools that you need to do any form of connection, right? So there are tools that are already in AWS that can help you to do the CPU, right? In the case of infrastructure as code, you can use CloudFormation, like I showed during the demonstration. Right? If you want to do encryption, you can use KMS keys on AWS. If you want to apply the principle of least privilege, you can use IAM, restricting permissions based on what you want the user to do or not to do, right? If you want to do continuous monitoring, it's CloudWatch helps you to do that, and also CloudTrail, it helps us to see what someone tried to do, right? So it's not far-fetched really, because the services you need, the tools you need are already provided to you by AWS, right? And that's the good part of everything, really. So it's not something that's far-fetched. You just need to, because it's not just enough to say that, okay, the services are there. You need to know the best practices to employ in order to use those services, to ensure that you are secure, to ensure that you are doing it in a way that will not even cost you more, right? So that's it really.
Okay. Thank you so much. Another question before we call it a day. He said, how can organizations leverage cloud cost anomaly detection tools to prevent unexpected expenses? So let me take the question again. How can organization leverage cloud cost anomaly detection tools to prevent unexpected expenses?
Yeah, so once you enable that cloud costs anomaly, right? Like I said, um, anytime there is a deviation from what AWS has observed over a period of time, you get notified. Or if you're someone that regularly checks it, you see it, and then you can make remediations accordingly, right? Because if let me just repeat the example I gave. So if you are spending $50 if you spent $50 for the past 6 months, and for whatever reason, maybe you spinned up a service and you forgot to delete it, and your cost increased to $100, right? During the month, like in the middle of the month, with customer anomaly, you can actually get notifications. You see it because it's a deviation from what AWS has actually observed, and you can go look into that matter, and then you delete it, saving yourself, paying X more than that $100. Because if you'd have left, if it had stayed till the end of the month, you're going to be paying more than $100, obviously. So with anomaly detector, you get a whole lot of advantages, because I mean it helps to show you, it helps to bring to light deviations from what AWS has observed.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that's all, unless maybe there's another question coming in. Yes, I think that's all. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for the insightful teachings. And also, thank you so much for all our attendees. Thank you for uh, coming by. Please be rest assured that this webinar is going to be, in case we had issues with network and everything, and you want to catch the replay, you will surely see it right in, you surely find it on our YouTube page. Also, you're going to get an email after this webinar. You're going to get first email congratulating you for coming for the webinar, right? And also an email to, inform you about the webinar recording, to when it is available. Please kindly follow us on all our socials, right? You can follow us on Instagram, CIL_teams, on LinkedIn, Secure Intelligence, on Twitter, CIL_teams, on Facebook, CIL Teams, on YouTube, CIL_teams, right? You can follow us on all of these socials. We have quite a lot of exciting events that we have uh, coming coming up in the next few days and few weeks, right? So please follow us. Please follow us, like, comment, and share on our YouTube page. So thank you so much. We don't have further questions, and I think we want to call it a day. Emmanuel, thank you so much for coming. Do you have any word for us before we go?
All right, so I think it will be that, to reiterate the point I spoke of, if you want to implement the solutions we spoke of today, and you're not sure as to how to do that, we can help you via Secure Intelligence. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you to everyone who joined from the beginning to the end. I know you fought with network a lot, but thank you for being here to the end. Do have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you so much.